In this video we're going to get the UDK set up initially for our game so we can start creating it. What we're going to do is you're going to want to go into your UDK folder, which is found in your C drive, go into your version file or folder, which is going to be probably most likely October of 2011 or perhaps later. I don't suggest going too far back if you have an old version because there may have been changes that can cause issues. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our version folder, and in my case I'm just going to use Classroom 1. From there we're going to go into development in the source, and we're going to find the MyMod folder. Now you won't see it on my screen because I've already changed the name. What I want you to do is rename it Puzzle Game. This is going to hold our classes for our game, which we will get to in a second. Once we have created our Puzzle Game folder inside the source, we're going to back up and we're going to go to UDK game, and we're going to go to our initialization files, or INI files, in the config folder. From there we're going to go to default-engine.ini, and we're going to go down to unreal.editor engine, and there you'll probably see plus signs next to these edit packages. Change those to semicolons. What that does is that makes it comment out so that when the game initializes it does not read these lines. We do not want to include UTGame or UTGame content script because we won't be using it. This game is completely from the engine base, so not from anything else. Save that and close it. Then we're going to go into default-engine.udk, and you're going to want to find the edit packages where under unreal.editor engine. You can do a search if you want as well, do a find, and try to find MyMod. And then under mod edit packages you want to change that to a plus, remove the semicolon, and also change MyMod to Puzzle Game. Then you want to save it and close it. So what that's going to then do is tell the game that you want to look in that folder to find source code. So we close out. Then we're going to go down to our default game, and we're going to change default game to puzzlegame.puzzgame, default server game to puzzlegame.puzzgame, and player controller class name to puzzlegame.puzzplayercontroller. Save it and then close out of that. And then we're going to do the exact same thing inside the default game UDK INI, and that is going to be the same thing. And in case if you're wondering, the Puzzgame is our game class what we're about to create, and the PuzzPlayerController is our player controller class that we're going to be creating as well from scratch. Okay, so we're going to close out. Now once you have your config files done, you can scroll down and delete UDK game and UDK engine. They're no longer needed because they're going to be recreated. And once those are deleted, we can back out. We're going to go back into our development, into our source, and into Puzzle Game and into classes. And in here there's 3 classes. You probably don't have anything. Those 3 classes are going to be what we're going to be creating right now. You want to make sure every class ends with a .uc extension. Make sure it's not .txt or any other extension. It won't be read and by the compiler when it comes time. So our first class we're going to create is called puzzgame.uc, and this is going to extend from UDK game, which is what the engine base game is. And then go ahead and copy this information in. The default properties is basically kind of like how you would set up your initial your initial information when you're creating your game. It's kind of like a constructor type thing. So you have a player controller class equals class puzzlegame.puzzplayercontroller, default pawn class equals class puzzlegame.puzzpawn, and then we're going to set b delayed start equals false and b restart level equals false. All of this stuff we're going to get into later, but we just want to set this up so that we can get started. Go ahead and save that, and make sure, like I said, that Puzzgame is spelled exactly like that, as well as the file name. If you decide to name this something different, that's fine, but just remember, whatever you change, you need to make sure you also change as we go further into the game. Next, we're going to create a class called PuzzPawn, and we're going to save it as puzzpawn.uc, and that's all we're going to do for right now. Just class PuzzPawn extends UDK pawn semicolon. And then the next thing we're going to do is PuzzPlayerController, and that's class PuzzPlayerController extends UDK Player Controller. And that's all we're going to do at the beginning. So save those. Make sure that when you save them, that you're saving them inside of your Puzzle Game classes folder. So they're all in there for when we compile, the game can find them. Now we're going to create some quick shortcuts to make it easy for us to find our way around. So we're going to go into Classroom, into Binaries. And we're going to scroll down to Unreal Front End, and you want the actual application. You don't want the XML configuration, okay? You want to right click, create shortcut. Don't make a copy, you want a shortcut, and place it anywhere on your desktop. That way it's easy for you to find, unless you're insistent on using your start button continuously. Once that's done, you want to scroll up to your Win32 or Win64 folder. Find whichever bit operating system you have. Go in there and scroll down to UDK. Once again, make sure you get the application, not the XML configuration. Right click, create shortcut, pop that on your desktop, and if you want to, you can rename these whatever you want. It's up to you. The final shortcut you should probably make to make it easy is your version folder. If you right click, make a copy of that, because that way when you go into it, you're always in your binaries development engine in UDK game, which is where you're going to be spending a lot of time. Speaking of which, since we're already in this situation, at this point, if you have the content compressed file, you can go ahead and uncompress it, and you want to take that and you want to put the file into UDK game content and then paste it in there, and it should be pasting the class content file in there along with the other files and everything else inside. That way you don't have to worry about creating things on the fly, and as we code, you can just pop in the code which is pointing back to this content, and it makes it a lot easier so you don't have to create things. Alright, so once the content pack's in place, once your classes are created, and we've already changed the configuration file so it points to our new game, we're going to go ahead and make one change to a shortcut, which is inside of your udk.exe file that you made a shortcut for. Originally, it's just going to have the target, it's just going to point to the actual file. Well, after that, you want to put a space, and then you want to put TestLevel, game equals puzzlegame.puzzgame, space, -log. Now, what this does is TestLevel is the level, the map we're going to load. The game equals puzzlegame is saying, look for the game inside of this folder, and the game, of course, is class puzzgame. And finally, the -log creates a log for us that we can view on the fly as we're doing things. For debugging purposes, it's a lot easier. You can go ahead and click OK after that's done. Now we're going to go and open up our Unreal front end. And inside of there, we're going to see a couple profiles. You can delete all the profiles if you want. I suggest perhaps leaving one that says UDK game on PC available, and then rename that whatever you want. In my case, I renamed it Puzzle Game. Then inside of Maps to Cook, you might have some maps in there. Go ahead and remove them, and then click Add, and then find TestLevel, and then go ahead and add the TestLevel.udk in there. Our next step is to click Script, Compile Script, and that's going to compile everything, and you should have no warnings or errors at this point. If you get a strange thing where it's saying something about classes inside a puzzle game, that's probably because you put your classes outside the folder and it's not finding your classes that it's looking for. After you've compiled everything and you have no warnings or errors, go to Cook, and we're going to do a clean and full recook, and we're only going to do this once, and I'm going to pause this while it does it. Okay, and what that basically did was that cooked the map into the .u file, which is the main file, and that's going to allow us to run the game without any problems. And also, by doing a full clean recook, it's going to delete all the UT game stuff out that we don't need anymore at this point anyway. You won't need to cook too often, but if you ever do, right now, you could probably get by with just doing a cook package at this point. If you feel the need to clean and do a full recook, then that's fine too. It just takes a little longer. Mostly from this point, we'll be just compiling scripts though. So once all that's done, you are pretty much ready to go to the next step. Now, if you click Launch at this point, you're most likely going to launch the preset game. The reason is because we have not changed the engine yet to tell it to launch our game, which we will be doing later as the class moves on. And that completes this initial setup.